drunken rant against Jews way too seriously. Exactly why is Jackie so forgiving? Why are you so forgiving?
I'll be honest with you. It's not that I'm so forgiving. It's that all these people are very sick. They're getting a vicious, sick, perverted, sadistic thrill out of this whole thing. Look at the glee in them. Look at the happiness about catching him, because they're all basically failures, or they never amounted to anything, or there's actors who are struggling to make a living, and they've always been envious and bitter and jealous of a guy who makes such a huge success. So now, in the guise of being a great crusader against anti-Semitism, they found an excuse. It's all an excuse, a rationalization, a phony excuse to bury this guy, because they're enjoying it with such a sick, perverted pleasure.
But he did say a lot of nasty things. Now, as a Jew, how do you feel about that?
Let me be very honest with you. Nobody could excuse these remarks. But do you ever take it so seriously when a guy is drunk and stupid, he's laying on the floor, and he says some ridiculous things? People curse their own mother in a state like that. They tell their whole family to drop dead. I mean, the whole family would be going to a cemetery by Thursday.
But nevertheless, you know, they say it's a truth serum. You don't buy that?
They say it's a truth serum. You got to be a moron. You got to be the phoniest, wretched fraud in the world to claim that it's a truth serum. If it's your family or your friends and they say something in a drunken state, you say he was drunk and you forget about it. In a drunken state, you might bang your head against the wall. Does that mean you really want to break your head? You might go into a car.
So you're not bitter toward Mel.
I want to ask you a question. Did you ever notice how people beg a guy not to drive when he's drunk, and he drives anyway? Because he doesn't even know he's drunk, and he doesn't even know he shouldn't be driving, and he doesn't even know that 10 seconds later he's dead.
That's a very good point.
Now, if you want to kill yourself, does that prove that you really, if you gave him a gun, he would kill himself? If you gave him a gun, I don't think he'd kill himself, but he's too sick and drunk to know that he's about to kill himself. I want to ask you a question. These people who are attacking him, they're all saying the same thing in Hollywood. I would never work with him again. These are all failures who never worked with him before. He never asked them to work with him. He don't need them. He makes a fortune and they can get a job, and they're threatening him that they won't work with him again.
So you think a lot of this is jealousy?
Jealousy and hate and contempt for a guy who's doing too good. It's also with this guy Foxman, this head of the ADL. I'm not a fake from top to bottom. I don't talk about people. It's not my nature. But he's
you really haven't badmouthed anyone yet.
He's a total fake. Let's be honest about it. Anybody who makes a life out of fighting racism, in effect, has to blow up racism in order to justify himself for his job he has. Otherwise, he'd have to go to work. Otherwise, he'd have to get up in the morning and get a real job.
But Jackie, let's look at this. He wants to. ABC has already cut plans to co-produce his Holocaust special, so that's out. Is he going to have any ill effects from all of this in Hollywood?
He might have ill effects because people love burying a guy who's big. If a guy on a bicycle breaks down, you cry for him. If he breaks down on a Rolls Royce, you applaud. People who make a living from fighting anti-Semitism, like Al Sharpton, and from fighting racism, they have to convince themselves there's racism every place. And that every minute they're about to blow up every Jew in America. Because otherwise he would have to go to work for a living. He fears a job a lot more than he fears anti-Semitism. Getting up in the morning is the main fear that Foxman has. And all of a sudden he made himself the judge and the jury of this man.
Well, a lot of people. There was that rabbi who suggested that maybe Mel Gibson should apologize to his congregation on Yom Kippur. What'd you make of that?
You know why? Because nobody knows who this rabbi is. Who cares who he is? All of a sudden he becomes a producer. All of a sudden he's producing a show with him and Mel Gibson, and he'll become the star of the show. And then you'll see it in the newspapers starring Rabbi Schwartz with Mel Gibson. He'll probably get second billing because it's another rabbi looking for attention. They decided they're the judge and jury of this whole situation. They become a personal mafia now because who knows who they are? Who would pay attention to them? Foxman and this other guy are loving it. They're threatening him every day about how much he apologized.
So Jews who are speaking out against... Well, there are some Jews who aren't in that camp who are just legitimately offended. You say they should get over themselves?
They're nuts if they're offended, because you're offended if you know anything about his life. Yeah. His life has been a mecca of decency all of his life. He never offended a Jew in his life personally. How a guy lived for 50 years is what should count, not one remark when you're drunk. He never joined a club where he's anti-Semitic. He never refused to give a guy a tip at a restaurant because he found out he's Jewish. His house doesn't have a sign in front of it that says no Jews allowed. What did he ever do that's anti-Jewish in his life? A whole 50 years of decency doesn't count because you made one remark? Now they say he apologized, but he didn't apologize enough. He should apologize a little higher. He should apologize in the morning. He only apologized at night. He He should apologize. He should apologize. He was apologized when he was cheating. He should have gotten up to apologize. He should apologize at least 2 more times, 4 more times, 32 times. Now they want him to get,
already, right? You're saying enough.
Now they want him to get circumcised.
All right, stop. Hey, it's a family show, Jackie.
It's a family show, but Jackie, I think if we should have decency is more important. And if we brought decency into this world, then stop attacking people because you never amounted to anything.
Jackie. You're yelling at me, too. I don't know. Hey, come down. It's all right. You're like Joe Pistardi coming back at me. Jackie Mason, thank you very much. We'll have more.